Congressman Bennie Thompson is the chairman of the House Homeland Security Committee, and he's leading an effort to block construction of a fence that it is ordered by law to be built along our border with Mexico. Congressman Thompson argues the Department of Homeland Security is breaking the law, trying to stop illegal alien and drug smugglers from entering this country. Congressman Thompson is good enough to join us tonight to argue this view from Capitol Hill. Mr. Chairman, good to have you here.
Well, I'm glad to be here, Lou, even though your premise is absolutely wrong.
Well, let's get to that. I say that the Department of Homeland Security should be securing the homeland and should be doing as expeditiously as possible, and you as the chairman of Homeland Security Committee in the House should be making that job easier, not more difficult.
Well, let me tell you how I've made it more easier, Lou. As a Democratic chairman, I pushed through $3 billion for border security. We now have 15,000 border agents working along the border, going towards 16,000. And that's what we have to do. We have equipment. We have all those things going on. But, you know, we also have to follow the law.
Well, we have to follow the law, and the law does permit Secretary Chertoff to carry out waivers on those laws to get this done. And in point of fact, as you know, the United States Congress laid down a law that this fence would be built. It is, by the way, I think it's demonstrably effective, unlike some of the people who are signing on with this amicus curiae that'll be filed with the Supreme Court apparently in the next few weeks. You know, the fact is it must work because they're fighting so hard against that fence, Mr. Chairman.
Well, no, I think what people want to do is to follow the law. Some of those waivers, Lou, will do away with the Clean Water Act. They'll do away with clean air. They'll endanger cemeteries, religious institutions. So there are some things that we've had in law for years that we need to protect. And so what I'm trying to do along with others is to say to the Secretary, just follow the laws. We've given you the money. All you have to do is carry out the law.
But isn't that a hollow and false order because you know that it can't be done expeditiously and effectively because they could be tied up in court for literally decades, Mr. Chairman? And isn't it true also that your committee has not once taken into consideration 25 million pounds of waste and damage to the environment along our border with Mexico? There's been no step taken, nor any step urged by your committee for either the Border Patrol, Customs, the Bureau of Reclamation, the Department of Homeland Security to do anything with that. In point of fact, we are sitting here waging a war on illegal drugs along that southern border. Let's leave illegal immigration out of it because that obviously is a point that apparently is favored by the members of those on this 14 congressmen who are going to be advancing their interests at the Supreme Court. The fact is that Mexico remains the primary source of methamphetamine, cocaine, heroin, and marijuana into this country, and your committee continues to permit those drugs to enter this country. It's not all of the fight on the war on drugs, but, sir, it is an important, vital, just absolutely vital element of necessarily combating those drugs.
Well, Lou, I want you to understand one more time. My committee gave $3 billion toward border security, more than in the history of this committee before I became chairman. I've made border security a priority. Now, for your information, we're talking about the waiver on building the fence. We're not talking about any of those other issues. Now, I have for you, since you have sometimes difficulty understanding.
I have limited comprehension. I couldn't agree more, Mr. Chairman.
So I have 36 items that the waiver would do. And so if we have used these laws to build dams, to build nuclear plants, to build power generation facilities, military bases, why can't we use these same laws to do the fence? And that's all I'm saying is just follow the law. We need to protect the property rights of citizens.
And Mr. Chairman, I'm saying to you straightforwardly, your committee and everyone opposing the construction of that fence and securing that border is putting the lives of young Americans at risk because you are not fighting with every resource at your disposal those people who would bring those illegal drugs into this country, and the majority of those drugs are entering across that border.
Well, but again, Lou.
That's what you say to the death and the destruction of all those young American lives?
All you have to do is look at the facts. On my committee, we've made money appropriated and authorized for it. We've done the right things. We've put more people, more equipment. But we need a border security plan. We need a strategy. That strategy could include physical barriers. It also should include more boots on the ground.
Well, now
but it also should include technology. But it has to be a strategy. It shouldn't be just run out there and ignore property rights of individuals. This is a country of laws. What we need to do is
country
work.
of laws. You haven't
Absolutely.
secured this border. Our 95% of the cargo entering our ports are still uninspected, Mr. Chairman, and you're telling me we're a nation of laws?
That's right. And you know why? And you know why? Because I passed the law, House Bill 1.
No, I do
that
know
requires
why. Because
100%
you and
screening.
your Democratic colleagues and your Republican colleagues refuse to represent the will of the majority in this country and to look after national interest and the common good rather than special interest.
Well, again, you got it wrong, Lou.
I may have.
If you read the law, we are requiring within 5 years 100% cargo screening.
Right.
We've talked to the business community.
That'll be what, 12 years after September 11th? I think you all should be extraordinarily... Mr. Chairman, I got to say, I think every Democrat and every Republican on Capitol Hill should be proud of himself or herself for what you've done for the American people.
We passed the law requiring 100% screening.
Then I suppose
that's what we have to do. And we're doing it.
Good.
We're moving forward with it. And I think you need to give the people the facts. Now, sure, we identified screening as a problem, but we're about the business of fixing it. If we required it today, commerce would stop. And so what we've done is work with the business community and other communities to try to get it right. And they are saying within this period of time...
So all that's left are the irresponsible American citizens who remain vulnerable and will remain vulnerable, apparently, for 12 years after September 11th. That makes us the fools?
Well, I have not said anything about fools. See, there you go again, Lou, misrepresenting the facts. All I'm saying to you is, since I've been
that you don't think I'm a fool. That's great.
We've dealt with it. I think you're misled, but I don't think you're foolish.
Well, in my misguided and misled fashion, sir, I think that the government of the United States should be able to secure its borders and protect its people in something under 7 years after we were attacked on September 11th. Yes, sir.
Well, and I agree with you, and that's why, since I've been chairman, we've allocated more money toward border security than in the history of this business. So if you look at the facts, Lou, you'll see that we're moving toward that. But we still need a border security plan. You know, if you look where we have fences, we have to come up with a plan for tunnels. We have to make sure that we have enough men to support the fence.
If that is persuasive to you, and if that leaves you satisfied, then there's not much I can say, and you and I are going to have to agree to disagree, I guess is the expression.
You know,
but I appreciate you being here. I hope you'll come back. We've used up a lot of time. I appreciate it.
Well, I came on your show because I think the other side needs to be told.
Well, I appreciate that. You bring that other side every time you want. You're more than welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Congressman Bennie Thompson. Up at the top of the hour, the Election Center in Campbell Brown. Campbell?